NEF versus Reach. It is time for pick and bans. Let's head over to Sam and to Say to bring us all the action.
Here we go. The Europe Cup is in their grasp, but for who will it be out of reach? Enough is enough. Let's get into the match, Say. We've got Reach versus NEF. Pre-bans come in. We see the Wedge at. We see the NEF dis. Pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, very obvious bans for both reasons. It's for both of them, their core units that both of them would actually use. Have that Oliver picked up by NEF. Seeing Reach going slightly different with that Hey Gang and that Tomoe, but those lock-ins that fast definitely shows that Reach did his homework. He expected that Oliver, and therefore also very easily locks it in. Got the Moor, the Segment. So definitely speed chasing for both of them to a certain extent. To a lot of extent so far.
As we can see, the Laura's been selected there. Probably definitely going to be locked in all honesty. But you can see how quickly they were responding with all of the picks. I think they were prepared that the Neftis and Wedgeat were going to be pre-banned. And let's see now, maybe it's time for Reach to think a bit more as he locks in Marsha.
Marsha, interesting one that kind of shows that Reach is going slightly more for a bruiser style, which he's, I would say, a little bit less familiar with. On ladder, he likes to go for those AoE CC cleaves kind of styles. And for NEF, I would say this is pretty common draft with the Raccoon and the Miles. We have seen it time and time again in all kinds of regions. We also saw it in Japan this morning. And that is just a pickup that kind of always works. Doesn't always shine to the best extent. But it's always something that you're saying like, what can I draft into that? And that's also definitely for Reach right now. Thinking about what can he draft into and then also what is he banning right after that.
Exactly. He's got all the time to think about it. Well, 3 seconds is all of his time left as he decides to lock in a Verd.
Verdehill, quite an interesting choice right here, I would say. You have the glancing from the Segment. The only AoE is a water unit, so it doesn't really fit too well. I think Reach kind of got out of time there and just picked something that was like, okay, this might fit. To be honest, also wouldn't really be sure what would be the best fit in that position. Bans, I would maybe say on that Raccoon, that is the only sustain on the right side. Left side, Laura. We see that Laura over there.
We've got the bans and Reach with the speed lead, but NEF with the faster speed lead as we kick things off today. Preliminaries, quarterfinals, day 2, match 1 between Reach and NEF.
Okay, we have Segment with the first turn. We have Segment time and time again. She has to land that third skill, does actually land the third skill. Very beneficial for NEF in this position. But I don't think it is done with all of the threat that is there. We can also see damage potential on the side of Reach is that Marsha. We have a lot of cycling with the potential of other units there as well. However, on the side of NEF, it doesn't show too much damage potential. So you have to land those arm breaks. Very nice glancing there on that Verdehill makes it that he doesn't crit as much and therefore doesn't get all of the attack bar ups. We do see that more with pretty decent damage. But how much can this Marsha do? Marsha's doing so much damage, nearly deleting that Segment off the field. Double miss critter from that Verd, saved it however.
Wow, it shows how much that glancing is playing against Verd here. You can see that NEF is trying to kind of target Tomoe, but with that glancing she's not going to do much, Say, right? As you can see.
No, Tomoe is not going to do all too much, but it is a fair play to actually go for it right now because of that armor break. As long as the armor break is there, you have a lot of damage potential on the unit. And the Marsha going a second time again. And that is probably deleting the Segment off the field. Yes, actually goes for skill 1 on that. Kind of saving the skill 2. It is one of those plays that we talked about yesterday as well. Do you go for the safe play of just killing a unit off? Or would you start spreading the damage already? In this case, I definitely do agree with Reach of saying I'm not going to spread the damage, I'm just going to go for that fair clear of that unit right there.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to play it a little bit safer to make sure it's off the field, right? As we see more skill 1 only available.
Okay, Marsha, question right now. Do you go for that Raccoon or do you go for the Oliver? Both could be 100% resistance, so it could be hard to land. Does go for the Raccoon, does not land as that 100% resistance comes in. Currently on the side of NEF, there's still the units that are alive look very lively. But on the other hand, we have that Verdehill giving the potential right now to take more turns.
Exactly. Who do you think that they're going to be targeting on each side now, to be honest, Say? So we've still got Tomoe alive, but barely. The other guys are looking healthy, and Raccoon is still on the field, might be healthy a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would definitely say the moment that Tomoe is off the field, you have to start focusing on the Verdehill. That's a very nice stun on the Marsha. However, we have Hey Gang on the field, and Hey Gang cleanses that off, so a stun on the Verdehill would be nicer. In this case, I do think that the Moor is taking a lot of damage, and that's also why you keep boosting the Moor. The Moor and the Raccoon might actually take down these 3 units, and all of her there is just to push back the attack bars.
Exactly. Do you think that realistically NEF needs to dismount that Marsha, right?
Yeah, dismounting the Marsha will definitely increase the potential of not having the armor break anymore. But to be honest, I think Vertical might still be the biggest issue. We do have that passive up for more again. If it is not stunned right now, and he would go for the more right now, I think you would have to try it actually to get the unit stunned. But yeah, it is a difficult position right now for Reach, and I do think that NEF is having the upper hand in this match right now.
Let's see then, so Verdi's going to be taking a turn, goes into the Raccoon. Marsha, does she do it?
She has potential to kill at this moment, I would say, but it will be pretty hard. Yeah, there's still quite some HP on that Raccoon. He's looking very light. You have to get those stuns on that more. There was definitely the attempt for that stun. If it doesn't work out, Moore's gonna do so much damage, and I think we're gonna call this a game because that Moore is going to be too difficult to kill for that Vertical solo, and that is going to be the victory towards NEF.
Wow, NEF coming away with the first win against Reach. It's 1-0. That was actually a little bit up and down, I would say, but in the end, NEF kind of managed to make it all the way through, right, say?
Yeah, definitely. The thing about killing that Sekhmet first, Sekhmet is there mainly for that first turn and landing maybe in the second turn that she has, that a Curse of the Beautiful, getting all of those debuffs in. Afterwards, it's gonna take quite a while before she gets online with doing like impactful skills again. So if you have, if you were to kill a unit right off the field, that is not going to be too impactful because she already did what she was supposed to do. Yeah, that's sometimes difficult, but on the other hand, killing any of the other units, as I mentioned, all of her probably 100% resistance, also the Raccoon 100% resistance, the more with the passive you have fire units, it is kind of a struggle of what do you kill first. This case, pre-bans on the Laura and the Athena.
It also does mean that Wedjat is back in the picture, and it's just missed off my head. Say, who was the other one?
We had Nefties in the previous round, so Reach has the possibility of taking the Nefties. Does take the Oliver in this case. I think Nef will probably go back for that more plus something. But the big question right now is, if you're playing against that Nefties, are you gonna go slightly more on the turn 2? Nope, he says like, I go for that Sekhmet. I'm still taking that first turn. I believe in her. She did very well in that skill 3 before. But Reach, do you go for your common playstyle right now with the Nefties, the Veronica, or do you already feel like, okay, I'm so heavy speed contested on that Sekhmet already? Maybe Reach starts going for a turn 2 on this position.
Exactly, he's got some time to figure it out right now, but we know from the last one, maybe with the Vertical pick, that the time creeps up on him quite quickly. As he's into the last 3 seconds to lock these down, he takes the Praha and a Marsha.
I would definitely say that these are picks that Reach is not too familiar with. And these are very comfortable picks for NEF, so I do feel that NEF has slightly the upper hand in this draft right now. Reach, what can you bring to us? He's showing more of a decent speed bruiser-ish setup, but not the high speed that NEF is showing on his units right now.
Yeah, exactly. He took in that Wedja and the Han. And again, Reach taking all of the time. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it might mean that you don't know what you're thinking of right now, as we see a Camilla and Tomoe back.
That is pretty interesting to see that Reach had the possibility of picking that Vaneftis, picking that Veronica, all of those units that he's familiar with, but decides to go something else because he feels like he's too heavy contested on that speed already. NEF, on the other hand, could go for that Wusa, and that Wusa will probably mean that the Pra's band, on the other hand, I think you would actually have to respect that Wusa as well, because otherwise you're fighting a team without any strippers, because I highly expect that Praha to be banned in here from the side of NEF towards Reach.
Exactly, and if there's no strips, there's nothing really that he's going to be able to do on the side of Reach, as we see Praha is banned and Wusa. Yeah,
exactly. Speed leads for both, and we go into the second round of a NEF against a Reach. Most likely that first turn going once again to that Sekhmet, which we're gonna see. Can Sekhmet land her skill 3 like she did in the previous match?
Oh, no, resisted.
Oh, resisted. That is a huge resist, and that also does mean that everything is on the Moore right now. Moore does enable to get a very crucial stun and was able to clear every of the immunities. We have so much damage going on to that Marsha, but we have the Oliver cutting in, so there's no Han second skill coming off that right now. However, can you control the Han enough? That's a very solid procer of that Oliver once again, going back and forth on his rotations of the skills, pushing back all of those units.
But we can see now, because Marsha was dismounted, there's no defense break side opportunity for Reach.
Yeah, there's no defense break, plus you're fighting defense buff plus anti-crit. That's a very difficult combination to get your skills through. However, if you can keep that Han controlled, the damage is going to be quite a bit less on the side of NEF. But we've also seen that Moore has some great artifacts, some great runes, and is doing a lot of damage. And Amasha is also on an armor break, not taking too many hits that easily.
Exactly. Does Moore decide to just get rid of the Marsha fully? Yeah, we're out of the field and back to Sekhmet.
Yeah, definitely a good choice to go for that kill there as well. But now we have Tomoe with her skills up as well. Can go for that suppression on that skill to Karma. And then maybe potentially spread it as well. Let's see how much this lands.
Ooh.
Lands a very crucial stun, because that means you can actually spread the stun. However, you have to keep in mind, every time that Wadjet takes a turn, he will start healing everything that has debuffs. So the debuffs that Tomoe is spreading is actually slightly more of a healing. Plus landing all of those debuffs on the Moore is pretty difficult. Stunning that, well, we're stunning back and forth. Wrong element stun, that is what we see right now these days. Because Despair doesn't care anymore about those elements. But look at the HP bar of NEF is not really going down. NEF can be CC'd 3, 4, 5 times. But as long as that Wadjet is alive, you can stun as much as you want. But if I'm not mistaken, you even heal from that stun. So it doesn't really matter all too much.
Exactly. He's missing the one big debuff here, which is obviously heal block, right? That would be good prevention, but there's none on the side of Reach, so it's going to be a very much an uphill battle.
Yeah. In this case, NEF did decide to go for that skill too, even though it's maybe not at the best position to do it. But he got that armor break and the heal block. Camilla's also slightly healing there left and right, but this gives a lot of opportunity for the Moore to do a lot of damage, especially on the Tomoe.
Here we go then. Oh, stun on the Wedgeat, and now we're into Oliver with glancing.
Yeah, definitely that Tomoe is trying to save the team with all of those stuns that she's doing, but the team is already damaged that much by the Masha being gone, and I think we're slowly going into more and more favorable for NEF in here. Because, yeah, how do you get rid of that Wadjet and there's just too much things going on while not having too much damage on the side of Reach?
Yeah, exactly. It's looking tough now. It's always going to be tough when you see 2 versus 4 anyway, and especially in this situation, like we said, Wedgeat is just doing so much by being on that field.
Yeah, exactly, and that's also once again why we see Wadjet being in those pre-ban targets against the players that do have Wadjet, because the moment Wadjet keeps cycling, you get so much attack bar on your whole team. We have that anti-crit buff, we have that defense buff, it's so difficult to get the damage in. Han, that was the first target that was actually trying to get some hits, is pretty much full back alive again, nothing actually happened. The damage on the Sekhmet is because she decided to go for the skill 2, and that is the victory of NEF.